yeah, no, that's just the war campaign assholes. They do that kind of thing.
I said, hail the chat. Hail, brethren. Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday morning, December 7th. I just thought I would announce that to everybody if you didn't know what day it was. Hail, Pan. How you doing, brother?
Good, and I didn't know it was December 7th, so that's news to me. Hail.
That's right. It's a good day to... Don Boulay, conservative states the truth about liars in the House and gets the boot. FJT was just saying that he's watched some lefty in your parliament get a 20-minute speech. You know what, man? I totally hear you, brother. I hear you. And my sister might be moving in with me, so thank you, Ange. I can't wait to...
oh, wow.
Yeah, to have you with me over here. I had her as a prisoner in 2017 here. You remember that?
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
A family prisoner.
Yeah. She was sick, so I nursed her back to health. I gave her my mother's milk. And That's right, man. That's right. That's right. You got it, brother. You know how I do.
Wow.
You know, I'm a family type of guy. That's just what it is. I'm a family type of guy. Pat, you know what? There's new stuff out there, man. I kind of wanted to open it up with this because it's really close to home. Well, your home, actually. Okay.
Okay.
So take a look at this, brother. What do you think of this? First of all, if you'd be so kind, let's take a look. What's happening here?
Okay. This is on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's Jorge Ventura Media. And it says, happening now. Large groups of migrants, mostly Chinese national men, crossing illegally through open gaps on border wall in Jacumba, Hot Springs, California. Tomorrow, San Diego County officials will note,
I think
or will vote,
pronounced Yacumba.
Yacumba.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not Mexican.
No.
I'm not a Mexican.
We are not.
No.
We're not Mexican.
No.
No. Yeah.
Or no, is it the J and H? I think it's Hakumba, right?
No, I think it's Yacumba,
Hakumba.
Dude. I'm not Mexican either.
Are you? Wait, yeah. Is anyone here Mexican?
Or do we have any Mexicans? If you're a Mexican, please put your hand up and tell us how you pronounce the J. I think it's Yacumba. Get your hand up.
Yeah, it's pronounced as a Y, probably. Yeah.
Yacumba?
Right. Yeah.
Yacumba.
I'm just going to call it Hakuna Matata. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Hakuna Matata.
Can you read this actually as a Mexican?
Oh, what's up, Moonmaker? How are you, bro?
Sure, why not? Okay,
Thanks,
it says, happening now. Large groups of migrants, mostly Chinese national men, crossing illegally through open gaps in the border wall in Yacumba, Hot Springs, California. Tomorrow, San Diego County officials will vote on whether the country will spend $3 million taxpayer funds for migrant services to the resources stretched thin.
And you know what? That was perfect because this is actually being reported by Mexican Jorge Ventura Media. God, I miss Jorge. We had a friend of ours. His name was Jorge. He's not deceased. You know that. Rest in peace, brother. That's a great name, man. I really liked him. He maintained he wasn't Mexican, but we never spoke.
I was say he wasn't Mexican, but he might have been Ray Romano.
He claimed to be Italian, and if you talk to the guy, he sounded exactly like Everybody Loves Raymond, the television sitcom. Yeah. Sounded exactly like that. And he was like this big, like 6'6" martial artist dude, but he was like super paranoid and just an interesting, cool dude,
Yeah, man, really good dude. Anyhow, that hits me right in the heart. Sorry about that. Kind of got an off topic, but yeah, man, we remember you, Jorge. Great brother. And Jorge actually leads us into the next topic. First of all, you can see here the Mexicans are kind of annoyed with the Chinese coming through, right? I mean, that's natural because that's one migrant group displacing another. That's a huge problem. It's like, it's like the Indians and the Pakistanis, right? It's you just call them all the P word, right? That's just what you do. You're just like, hey, P word. GTF out of my country, right? But for them, it's like a different thing, right? It's like a Chinese and a Taiwanese. They can tell the difference in their facial types. They can recognize a Korean and a Japanese. They also know, are they the same or not, Gat? Korean and Japanese? I don't know about that.
No, not the same.
Anyways.
Japanese,
Sorry, brother?
Isolated for years.
Japanese, say that one more time. You cut out.
Japanese DNA has been very isolated for thousands of years. Its
Right.
Koreans would be more closely related to Southern Chinamen.
Right. But Chinese men, we call them. We don't say Chinamen anymore.
Oh, we don't get to say Chinamen? Okay.
No.
What? Why not?
Well, I don't know if you can. Can you say Indian men? China men.
Why not? Sure.
Yeah, why
India
not?
men.
I don't get why. Yeah, what's the problem?
No, you're right. You see, this is exactly why, you're writing Racist Angel, because she comes down from heaven. She can't understand the rules. We can't understand the rules, right? How can you understand the rules? Because you
Hey,
literally...
maybe it is a self-insert. Maybe Racist Angel is just me being racist in a comic book.
It's you with big boobs.
No, it's not.
Maybe. It might be.
It's not. It's not you with big boobs. Don't say that, all right? Because
Well, the reason.
No, yeah,
like,
don't say that.
No, it's definitely not
Degenerate.
Gat with big. It's not Gat with big boobs. It's not.
Jesus.
But the reason that no one can ever get a bead on what the rules are is because they're always changing the rules. They're shifting the goalposts. These leftists.
yeah, you got it, man. Because if you think about when you say Chinaman, okay, and we love everybody, but we hate everybody. If you think about it for a minute, you're taking a country name and then you're putting the word man. So just think about that for a minute. Is it racist to say a country name and then man, Chinaman, right?
No, it's
Chinaman.
perfectly descriptive. It's a descriptive sentence. Like, it's not have any. There's no like. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. I'm not angry at any race.
No,
you know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if you're from America, you can be a Merriman.
A Merriman, yeah, man. Well, that's it. Anyways, here we have some Chinamen, right? Chinamen. We're going to do it. We're going to push the boundaries, Chinamen. And they're lined up over here. Let's take a look at them. Now, if you're a Mexican right now, you are very upset because they're getting in on your...
You're like, holy shit, there's so many of them.
And why are they all males, too?
Yeah, what? Wow.
Oh, hold on. That one's looks like a female.
So did they, from
Couple
China go to Mexico just to travel into, the United States? They took a little Costa Rican vacation, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, how does that work? And then you've got one here wearing a. She's cold. You know that she comes from the hot part of China.
Yeah, looks like an Eskimo.
Yeah, an Eskimo. Don't remind me of Eskimos, Pan. Please, God. Please, God. Yeah, that one looks like an Arabian. That's not a Chinaman right there. That's
Yeah,
an
wait a
Arabian.
minute.
Half of those dudes don't even look Chinese at all. So I don't know what they're talking about.
That's an Arabian.
We found Waldo.
That's a terrorist, you guys. That is a terrorist. Okay, I just want to put it out there.
Right?
Yeah. You got to spot him. Honestly, the TSA should hire me to feel up the ladies. So we should.
Well, there's no ladies there, though.
Right. But I would stroke this dude's haircut. And, speaking of Jorge, right? Okay, the guy writing this article, well, this tweet, which is basically like an article these days.
Yeah, for me.
For me too, Ben. So Jorge used to do something here, and that leads us to the next topic. Jorge used to continuously try to tantalize members of our voice chat, right? He used to tantalize us.
We're gonna talk about that.
Well, I'm going to talk about it low key, right? But basically, used to tantalize. So they've been pushing a lot of this normalization stuff, normalization of feminine beauty. What do you find attractive? What do you not find attractive? Right? What is hot to you? And we got an article right here. Jorge used to do that as well, but he would do it as a joke to try to trick us into having gay sex. But hey, let's take a look over here at Michael Knowles, and he writes,
I mean, what even is a woman? Michael Knoll on X Twitter says, exclusive, top Pornhub staff admits to inserting gay and trans themes into mainstream porn to convert straight men. What? Bruh.
Yes, indeed. So let's take a look at this video. Let's just kind of skip ahead to the center portion, all right? Maybe just over here. So it looks like there's being a secret. So this is interesting because this company, MindGeek, is people don't know this, but one of the biggest internet pornography websites for watching pornography and masturbating is actually called Pornhub, and it is founded and run by a company called MindGeek in Montreal. I know because as a programmer, right, sometimes I look at job listings, and then I was researching, you're looking at jobs and you see this company named MindGeek, and you're like, what the hell even is that company? You know what I mean? So I started digging, and I found that those are the dudes that run Pornhub. It comes out of Montreal. Now, if you've lived in Montreal like I have, at least in the 90s, it was I mean, the sexuality was rampant. Okay, you'd sit chain smoking and drinking red wine until 3 in the morning at a patio. It was a great time. It was fantastic. I hear now, especially after Legault, that things have changed there thoroughly. That there's no more enjoyment. That joie de vivre has kind of gone. A lot of people have left, but of course, it is still the center of pornography on the internet. It looks like it, right? So that's MindGeek right there. That's something a little, looks like we got a secret video, right? Taped with a secret cam, maybe a lapel camera. Let's take a look.
Thing is like when you write for like Sean Cody, which is like primarily gay targeted, when you write for Trans Angels, which is trans female presenting targeted, you also try to see how much you can take of that and bring it to mainstream vanilla content, right?
Whoa. Okay. Right. So I like how they got all the coded words over here, which is trans female presenting targeted, trans angel, MindGeek porn student. Attracted more than 350,000 people in 4 days last year. 350,000 people. So what's going on? Is it because of the migrants and what's going on there? Or, what's the reason? There's no reason mentioned here in the Lincolnite. What about over here? Lincoln Christmas market attracted a record of 320,000 people last year, says The Independent. Too many for the event to be run safely. So what is this? Is this just a war on fun and having a good time? What do you think it is? Or why would you do that?
Well,
what would be the reason for that?
Every year,
Sure.
they try to kill Christmas, in some ways. Dan says that they're ultra liberal, the people that run Lincolnshire. So, go figure.
Mm-hmm. So they're saying over here, it's caused outrage among the city's folk and traders. When I think of, Lincolnite British traders, I see them dressed up in Renaissance fair, they're selling pewter mugs and clay pots, all the local wares, maybe an English pot pie, a little bit of maybe a hot toddy, things like that, right? The city's Conservative MP Carl McCartney has weighed into the dispute, criticizing the Labour-run council for cultural and economic vandalism. Yeah, I would say so. This time next week, Lincoln Christmas Market will have been in full swing. And now they're just damaging livelihoods, jobs, and our city's reputation. Yeah, it really has, man. It's also damaged our city's reputation across the whole country. People are incredulous at their cultural and economic vandalism. I like that term, economic vandalism. I kind of feel like we've been living in the times of economic vandalism. I recently bought a Bell SIM card for my phone, well, one of my many phones. This phone particularly used to speak to women on the internet. And yeah, I'd separate that out from my regular life. Look at this, and you can tell because of that shininess in the background. You see that right there? It's like a pearl, kind of like a pearl background. You like that, Pat? Pretty nice, huh? Anyways. So yeah. So I put a SIM card in there. Well, I didn't yet. Well, I did now, but I'm contacting Bell. I made an order at 10 a.m. and I paid for this express delivery of the SIM card because I don't like to leave my house. I usually like to sit in my boxers. And the system is so screwed. I get a call from the store, and I think people have experienced this all over Canada in every aspect, right? Things are just busted. This kind of plays into PP's, what he's always talking about, Canada's broken, right? And it's a great slogan. It really is, because things are so broken. I don't think he's going to fix everything, but maybe some things. But that right there is what's going on. These guys had such disconnect. In the end, the guy from the Bell Mobility store here in Ottawa drove to my house to hand deliver me the SIM card. And I signed, and I was wearing my, I had no shirt on. My belly's hanging out, and I got the big pen in my hand, and I'm signing because the system wouldn't work. Right, none of that online stuff I filled out. He actually drove to my house. I sweet talked him on the phone. I said his name was Mir, right? And I was like, yeah, Mir. I'm like, brother, I would come right now to the store. I am busy right now, brother. I am busy right now. Really, I was just watching YouTube in my boxers. But he drove to my house because he knows that everything's so busted. And this dude needed his SIM card. I sweet talked him, came to my house, and we had SCX. Okay, so yeah, things are...
Oh my God.
things are... No, we didn't. But things are... My wife was like, what the hell? Why is the Bell guy coming into the house? What's happening? Anyways, I'm a sweet talker on the phone. Pan, if you'd be so kind, can you be the Bell Mobility guy? You were saying to me that, we can't see your order on the phone and we can't bring you, there's no SIM card listed, bro.
Sir, we cannot see your order, eh?
He's an Arabian, so if you could do an Arabian.
Oh, wait, he's a Canadian.
He's an Arabian Canadian.
We already last show we found out that I can't do an Arabian accent.
Right. Okay. All right. Fine. You're doing this to me. Fine. You want bad news? I'm going to give you bad news. I want to say a big thank you as well to Black Pill Gypsy in our chat for pointing us to this cancellation of Lincoln Christmas Market right there. Okay. Thank you for that heads up. I like that. I like when you give us these heads up on Twitter, we can put them up on the screen. It's pretty good. Pretty fun time, right? There it is. Mm-hmm. Thank you, sister. All right, we got CTV News. This is some good news. Well, it's good and bad news, right? But it shows the normalcy of where we're at today. So CTV News, here we go. Let's take a look.
Okay, from X Twitter, it says a young nurse suffered cardiac arrest while training on the condition. Fellow nurses saved her life.
I don't know English anymore. But yeah,
she was training. Oh, okay. They were training how to deal with cardiac arrest, and she actually had cardiac arrest during the training. And thank goodness they had gotten through enough of the training where they knew how to save her life.
Wow, what are the odds? And they're all like, "Hey, that's a great thing." And I guess it's this young yellow presenting person in the front. I'm so sorry. She's actually quite pink, and. But it's amazing to me that this is kind of more of a normal, it's a common occurrence, I guess, right? And hopefully you're saved. Andy Hoang, a recent nursing graduate center, poses with coworkers Lisa Davenport left and Justina Torino the spot where she was stricken recently during a cardiac training session. Okay, so you did have it right. Yeah, you're right, Penn. They were actually training for a cardiac training session, and luckily they were training and they had enough training to be able to pull her out of that. At the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center Tuesday in Lebanon, New Hampshire. This is the problem. They're even changing the names of our cities.
Little Lebanon.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Why did I write New Hampshire? Does that make sense? New Hampshire? Concord?
Yeah.
It is New Hampshire. Oh, okay. Okay, this is from the Associated Press, so that's why I was thinking it's not Canadian. CTV News. Concord, New Hampshire. Andy Hung eagerly began her first nursing job this year in New Hampshire with a desire to specialize in cardiac care. She was excited about attending a November practice session on how to respond to someone in cardiac arrest. And then she had cardiac arrest.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? The last thing I remember was taking some... I woke up to a room full of doctors and nurses. Wow, this is incredible, man. It's just... I'm not saying why. I don't know why. She goes to the gym, she says, 4 times a week. She runs. She eats well. I'm on my feet 12, 13 hours a day at work. So I want to make sure I'm in shape for that.
Is she V'd?
I don't know anything you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. I refuse to talk about it. I will not talk about it. I don't know what you're talking about. Refuse to talk about it.
We can't.
No, we can't. This is a feel-good story. This is a feel-good story, and we're sticking to the feel-goodness of
That's right.
Of this feel-good story. And we're going to feel good together. And now we're going to feel bad together. You ready, Pat?
Jab or no jab, the Asian presenting, female presenting person lived, and that's a happy story. So here we go from the National Post. National Post. BC man opts for medically assisted death after cancer treatment delayed.
Wow. Okay. So what are we looking at? What's the headline here? This is some my heart. Oh. Okay. All right. 6 months into the BC NDP's government move to send breast cancer and prostate cancer patients to 2 clinics in Bellingham, the province's wait times have actually gotten worse. Updated 1 day ago. All right. Oh. Dan Quayle, who died of esophageal cancer on November 24th, with his stepdaughter, Shailene Griffiths Middle, and wife, Kathleen McCarmichael, on Shailene's wedding day. Dan Quayle marked his 52nd birthday on October 7th in Victoria General Hospital, waiting to find out when chemotherapy would start for an aggressive form of esophageal cancer. Excuse my
esophageal? Esophageal?
Whatever. Cancer. He had a cancer in his esophagus. He would die waiting. Pan, if you read that next paragraph, this is horrible stuff, man. This is horrible. You felt good, now you're feeling bad.
Yeah, Dan Quayle, not to be confused with former Vice President of the United States, Mr. Potato. After 10 weeks in hospital, Quayle, a gregarious grandfather who put on his best silly act for his two grandkids, was in so much pain, unable to eat or walk, he opted for a medically assisted death on November 24th. This was despite assurances from the doctors that chemotherapy had the potential to prolong his life by a year. His family prayed he would change his mind or get an 11th hour call that the chemo had been scheduled, said his stepdaughter, Shaylin Griffiths, whose mother, Kathleen Carmichael, had been with Quayle for 16 years. As the weeks dragged on in hospital, Carmichael kept pressing for answers on when chemo would be scheduled.
Yeah, that's it, man. This is it. There was never a timeline on that. So Griffiths, who lives in Victoria, their exact words were, "We're backlogged, so why not take maid?" Okay.
Wow. So, I mean, Canada's never been known for its healthcare, and it's getting worse. I mean, that's not good.
I don't know. Here we're programmed to believe that we have the best healthcare in the world. Every time, when that's like a Canadian conceit. You're probably not familiar with that, but that's what's drilled into your head here. It's this feeling that we got the best healthcare. That guy, who's the fat dude there? The fat dude, he did an interview, not an interview, like a movie. Not Michael. He's a really.
Is he a documentarian?
Right. He's a fat, super
Michael
fat.
Moore,
Michael Moore.
The leftist pig.
That's him. Right. The really fat dude. Right. The dirty, like he's got crumbs in his face, got massive jowls. Anyways, he did a video, right? A movie documentary thing called, it was about, I still remember, right? This was like a propaganda piece where people dying in the hospital who couldn't get care, who didn't have insurance, who couldn't get their legs fixed, things like that in the U.S. So we always say to ourselves, hey, at least we got free health care. That's right. We don't need freedom of speech. That's hate speech right there, right? That's hate speech. We don't need freedom of speech, but we got freedom of free health care. That's what we got, baby. Well, turns out it's not working so good. This dude right over here, it's absolutely a horrible story. And I want to point out this beautiful thought over here, Chloe, okay? And I really want to thank her as well, okay? So this goes to show that even a thought, right? This is an urban speak. Gad, what does it stand for, thought?
That hoe over there.
That hoe over there, right? So this lady, Chloe, actually lives very close to me here in Ottawa, New Orleans. And so this is a couple years back, and I'm following her, right? Because I'm getting in the mix. I'm like, I can feel my freedoms being restricted. I'm tearing my shirt off. You know what I mean? And she starts taking photos in the local mall right here up the road from me, Place Orleans. And she starts taking these pictures of herself, and she's got her very juicy lips and the rest. And she starts taking these photos, and I'm following her because, I'm just horny. And she starts taking these photos of herself with no mask on, and she starts saying, why are all the men pussies who are all wearing masks, right? She goes, all you pussies, are there no real men left? And I saw this post, and I was like, wait a second. I'm not a pussy. I'm not a pussy. I'm not a pussy. I'm not a cuck. And this hoe right over here, swear to God, she inspired me. I saw this hoe saying, and I love hoes, and she said to me, right? She says
it with affection,
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, this is the woman that inspired me to become, to be unemployable forever, ungovernable, right? I was like,
yeah. Oh no, go finish your thought there.
No, that's really it, man. And she took these photos of herself in the friggin' mall, and she's like, I'm a boss bitch. I don't wear nothing. Why are all the men pussies? And I'm like, I'm not a pussy, Pan.
Well, yeah, no, it's wild because there have been times when thoughts have made men do some self-reflection, like I'm spending way too much money on this, like I'm whacking off like 25 times a day. What the f am I doing with my life? But this is different. She made you self-reflect and really realize what was happening in society, with the pandemic and the mandates and everything. I mean, that's good for her. A thought-provoking thought.
Yeah, man. So, that was cool. Anyway, so she went to Mexico. It turned out she went to Mexico. She lived there for a bit. She escaped. But then I came across
Chris Sky.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame people who it's just, I don't know, man. I mean, I just couldn't, and I wasn't gonna. I felt like digging in like a tick. You know what I mean? I'm a tick on Justin Trudeau's ass. But but the reason I mention her and all that is because she then posts this, and I saw this, and I was pretty sad about it. And I wrote to her, right? I wrote to her saying, "Sorry to hear it, sister, but why?" Because listen to this, what she writes here about Maid. It was really sad to read this.
Okay, she says, my mom is immunocompromised.
Sound
and gets offered
sexier, Pan. Sexier, please.
Okay.
Actually, Gat.
let me-
Sorry. Gat is the man for this job here. Gat, can
Well,
you?
yeah, Gat used to do all the.
I
female
haven't done
voices
it
on-
for years. I ain't starting now. Okay?
Come on, Gat. Come on, Gat. Read
No,
sexy
we
to
have
me.
we have a thing now. Pan reads the tweets and he does all the voices. Gat is retired from doing voices because the voices are horrible and Pan's actually really good at it. So,
No,
yeah.
your female voices are War Campaign classic.
We got Elric. Gat, please. I need this. Angelique Paul. Come on, Gat. Go, Gat. Said Mila.
It's too early. If you want to see me do a voice, you're going to have to come to a CG stream when we do it at night or something. It's way too early. I haven't even smoked a blunt yet. You're
Come
killing
on,
me.
man. Listen, Gat. I know it's early. But this is something. This woman, you got to remember, she freed my mind like Trinity out of the Matrix, right? I was Neo, and I was working a desk job.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm still not doing it.
Blunts are like Gat's coffee. He hasn't had any blunts yet.
All right,
It's like his coffee.
All right, Pan, be sexy
Okay, I'll
for
do it.
me.
I'll do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'll do my best thought impression here. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Okay, this is Chloe. She's like, my mom is immunocompromised and gets offered Maid every time she's hospitalized. And she said it's scary how close she feels to agreeing with it. When she's there a few weeks since the state of hospitals is so poor. She just went back to hospital yesterday. So nervous. Journey.
This horrible shit. I mean, I love the voice, and I'm kind of laughing because it's.
You said to be a sexy thought.
I know.
The best I could do.
No, it was it was a great voice. It was great, and you turned me on. But at the same time, the content turned me off. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could
That's
have read
the
it like
problem.
more serious, but I was trying to
No.
be a sexy thought whose mother is, having medical
All
issues.
right. Just do it serious because it's such a downer. I feel
Okay.
like my
Okay.
journiness
No.
interfered with reality. Yeah.
No sexiness. Okay, she says, my mom is immunocompromised and gets offered Maid every time she's hospitalized, and she says it's scary how close she feels to agreeing with it when she's there a few weeks since the state of the hospital is so poor. She just went back to hospital yesterday. I'm so nervous.
This is really sad. Really, really sad. And I saw this, this beautiful thought say this stuff. Really a wonderful woman, truly, right? Nice, really nice hoe. And
Best thought ever.
Yeah. I got a special place in my heart. I actually did offer her money to meet me. She refused.
Bruh.
But the thing is that this wonderful lady right over here, her mom's sick and you can't get care, and they offer Maid to you, right? When you're down and out, when you're low, and it is friggin' incredible to me, right? You see these medical people give conferences, and we were looking at that the other day. The conferences, especially now that in March 2024. They're going to be able to prescribe Maid to people who simply have, mental or substance abuse issues. It is amazing to me that that's where we're going. And to be offered, and people at their low, right, when they're low or at their lowest, sometimes you're going to take it. Like, who hasn't felt, right? If you could tell me that you could just put me in a sensory deprivation tank, you know what I mean, and close that lid, or maybe one of those oxygen tanks that Michael Jackson used to sleep in, right?
With his monkey bubbles.
Monkey bubbles? What do you mean?
Yeah, no, Michael Jackson at that time period when he was sleeping in the oxygen chamber or whatever the heck that was, he had a pet monkey named Bubbles that went everywhere with him.
What?
Yeah, bro.
I've never.
You don't know about Bubbles?
No, I don't know about bubbles. Right. World is a weird
Allegedly.
place. Yeah, the world is a weird place. Uh, but who doesn't want sometimes, you know what I mean, just to shut the world off, just to numb yourself? Not necessarily take Maid, but and you could feel, I could, from that, you know, I could actually understand how somebody could take Maid when they're at their lowest. You know, I have, I mean, who hasn't experienced extreme back cold pain at least once in their life?
Ow.
Extreme, and I mean extreme back cold
Well,
pain.
we know of at least one person, but we're not gonna
No, we're
talk
not
about the
going to.
champion of lawsuits of the world.
Don't ever say his name.
Never.
Never, ever.
Fucking pussy.
So these dudes are just coming out and saying, hey, why not take it? Why not take it? I want to see what the comments are saying, just out of curiosity for this. Let's do the most liked comments, because that means...
Yeah, Ro, you were saying earlier how you were kind of taught growing up in Canada that
Yeah.
American healthcare was like not great and that Canada had it great up there.
Right.
We were taught the opposite here. We were always told that in Canada, when you go to the hospital, you literally would wait in the waiting room for a doctor and you would die waiting on a doctor. That's what we were told in America. And now to read this article and find out it's actually true is amazing. This is something we were told 30 years ago, you know?
Mhm.
And now here's the proof right in front of us. This guy died waiting on chemotherapy, which is not something that you actually, it didn't make any sense for something you'd have to wait in line for, other than you're trying to kill a guy. It just takes a guy who specializes in the treatment and applying this medicine to you, or quote unquote medicine to you. It's not like you need a special technician or a special doctor every time to do this. You know what I mean? Like, the dude shouldn't have died waiting on chemo. There's no way that should happen in Canada in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. Part of being an American is, understanding that the Canadian healthcare system sucks.
Yeah, well, now definitely, I'll tell you that much. I don't know if it was always this bad. We got Don Boulay with an interesting comment in the chat. He goes, do you think the rich in this country have to wait for medical care? How about politicians? Canada is a system of tiers and class in everything. Yeah. I agree with you, brother. I agree with you.
So do they have, doctors that'll get you right in the door, if you have enough money, or do they have to go to a different country? How do these wealthy people do it?
You know what? I've been very blessed that I haven't had really too many issues. I avoid doctors. My children as well. My wife did have issues, as I've said before, and she's doing good now. In the end, we ended up going to naturopaths in the U.S., right, States, and I ended up paying for it. They were amazing, fantastic naturopaths, and they have helped her tremendously. She's doing good. But here, look, I'm just going to put it this way. I'll give you just how it was. So she was 13 weeks pregnant and just bleeding. And completely, unable to hold any kind of food, dropped down to 75 pounds. No word of a lie, no exaggeration. And she had this ulcerative colitis and all the rest. Really, really, really bad. She could not hold anything down. Continuously just passing blood. And the doctors, basically, they just let her kind of waste away in the hospital. Right, that's what she was doing over here at Smythe Road at the General. Then I had this Egyptian doctor, right, who is one of these gut specialists on Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, and she said she wanted to put her on this what they call biologics medicine. All right, this is actually part of what really kind of made me like nuts. This is in the summer of 2021, and meanwhile, every time I'm visiting her, they're asking me more and more questions about what, and I know they're going to stop letting me come in because they've launched these, the vaccine passports and all that. They're talking about it. So I'm just, every day it's harder and harder. And thank you very much, Gat. Every day, Gat really gave me a lot of support. Dan Marshall, Victoria Hands.
Hell, brother.
Hell, brother. Really, really hard period in my life. And
I didn't give you any support at all.
No, you did, dude. But these guys held my dick. You know what I mean? That's a difference.
What?
You know what I'm saying? You don't, Pan. You and
I didn't actually do the hold your wiener.
No. Nah, it's because you know what I mean, Pan. You and I, it's like we're like, I think I may have. I was very weak at that time. It was very hard, man. You know what I mean? So it's just for you, Pan. You know, because you and I are so close, like butt buddies. You know, I'm like,
Oh.
I got to be like a man's man with you. You know what I mean? Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I can respect that.
Yeah,
That's it,
he
man.
cries to me and Dan.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fantastic because I don't want to hear it at all.
you don't want to hear about. No, man, no. Anyhow, so it's just different. You're gonna have, you know, I'm more gets. We're gay together. You and I were, but you told me you loved me the other night, so we're gay. now.
Hail, brother.
Hail,
Yeah.
brother.
Well,
Yeah.
look, here's how I break it
My
down.
bro.
You're more publicly gay with Pan, but you're more privately gay with me.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Just kidding. Come on. I was
That's kind of
Behind the scenes.
anyway. So anyhow, so where this is going is this Egyptian doctor says, "Hey, why not try this biologic experimental drug? Now your wife's pregnant, and I'm like, is there any data on, you know, her being 13 weeks pregnant and taking this drugs? Like, is there any data on this drug?" She's like, "No, we're doing a study." She wanted to recruit my wife, who's 75 pounds, 13 weeks pregnant. I'm incredulous, right? Which is why I can see this happening, into a research project that she would then be able to, you know, write. And I'm just like looking at this woman thinking, and she's really well put together, this Egyptian doctor. She is, oh man, she's a MILF, right? She's pretty. She's got, you know, her high heels on. Looks, and she's, you know, a go-getter, and she's writing her research papers, and she wants to, and my wife is, you know, got 4 children and fucking dying in the hospital. And I'm looking and I'm just like, F my life. You know what I mean?
Cleopatra and Scrubs wanted to use your wife as a guinea pig.
Cleopatra and Scrubs indeed wanted to use my wife as a guinea pig. So then I start reading the internet, right? Because I'm an internet reader, internet lover. And you know, I'm like, you know what? This has got to be food related because it's a gut thing. And the doctors are telling me it's not gut related. It can't be gut related. It's nothing to do with that. But I'm like, look, 1 + 1 is 2. If you got a gut problem, it's got food related. Anyway, so then I happen upon this, you know, more and more. I'm getting deep in the internet, and I'm like, I'm gonna cure you, baby. You know what I mean? And I gotta be strong, right? I gotta be strong. I can't just break down. I gotta be strong. Gat's holding my dick. Dan's holding my dick.
No.
2 dudes
No, he
are
wasn't.
holding my dick. Yes, they are.
No.
Right, right, giving me.
No.
No, man, because I felt so weak, dude. I felt so weak, man. I was like fucking weak, dude. Right, but I had to just go be strong. And so I started with my kids making food. I started making broth every day, like buying these lamb shanks and making broth with them. Because I'm like, no, I'm like, this food is I'm like, I don't know anymore, right? So I bought like 5 of these. That's why I got so many of these containers. You know what I mean? This Stanley thermos containers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I got like 6 of those. And then I would prepare the food. I would get my kids, like, we were like a friggin' machine, right? I'd be like, peel those potatoes. And they would peel yellow potatoes, and then I would make broth. I bought this Instapot, which is like I was watching women on YouTube cooking with an Instapot, how to make broth. So anyway, so I just fed her only lamb shanks broth with yellow potatoes and salt. I'm like, let's go to the most simple diet that your body can actually take care of. And I'm telling
Sounds
you,
pretty good.
yeah, man, right? And a couple weeks later, within like 2 weeks, she's starting to like gain weight. She's got a bit of strength. She's not going to the toilet 25 times a day anymore. And that baby stuck, man. That baby grew in her. Got her out of the hospital right before they instituted the fucking vaccine passports. Praise God! Right? Mm-hmm. So, got her out of the hospital. And, fuck yeah, man. And here you go. Now my kid is now 2 years old. He's going to be 2 on December 17th or 18th. I don't even know when the kids are born. I only know my first child's birthday because she's my favorite.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so right.
Crazy.
So now that kid's turning 2, man, and my wife is an angel, and that's what switched me. Like that's what that right there, right? That's why when this, it's like. That's what just changed a lot for me, man. That's why when the convoy rolled around, I was just like, I was already like, You know what I mean? My brain is switched in. It's done now. I'm something different now. So fuck you, Trudeau. That's all I got to say. And this, what I'm seeing over here, is exactly what I expect to see now, because this is where we're at. This is where we're at. So when I kind of laugh about it or whatever, it's because you got to laugh or you got to cry. That's all there really is to it. But they are absolute demons. Our politicians and our medical staff are not doing their jobs at all. And it is a total destruction of our society happening in slow motion. You can see it from, essential services not running, from corporations and companies, multinational corporations and companies not being able to sell me a fucking SIM card from an online store and then ship it to the local store or get them to. Total destruction of basic things, right? You saw it with the passports, the rest. Getting a passport becoming a huge problem. Whether it's the Phoenix pay system, right? It is just dysfunction. It's dysfunction because it's socialism, because we're living in socialism. So it's dysfunction from all the way up to all the way down. Total dysfunction. I spoke to a guy yesterday, right? And I want to say right now, I'm going to tell the RCMP to just come at me, dog. Bought some smoke.
Again?
Yeah, well, I told the CRA last time, right? But I bought
right.
some. I bought some smokes, right, from some, let's say somebody who's indigenously oriented. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Indigenously presenting.
Indigenously presenting, right? Dude tells me he just got friggin' laid off 3 days ago. Right? Okay, just before Christmas, and this is it, man. It's like he's like, this is what's happening. This is where we're going. Now, it's not all bad news, because what it's going to mean is that us who are in the country are going to have to get tough. You're going to have to bring your family, your closest friends together. You're going to have to bind together and be bound together to get through it. And it will eventually make us a stronger country and a stronger society. It's guaranteed, which is why I'm not leaving, running. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. We'll get through it. You have to get through it, but it's going to get bad before it gets good. That's just what it is. So what I'm seeing here, not surprised. Not surprised at all. Wow. That got serious pretty quick, didn't it? I thought I was just going to act retarded.
Well, that's why you never want to miss a war campaign. You never know what's going to happen, it can take a wild direction, and this is a sad story, but I think we're all really happy that your wife is doing well.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Appreciate that very much, man. Appreciate that very much. Yeah. Okay, I want to change a little bit of direction over here. I want to talk a little bit here. So what happens, there's these Coots guys, right? You've heard about these people. I want to put Coots 4, that's right, man. I want to show this over here. This is because not everybody's got a platform to say their what they want to say. So I want to put this up so you can kind of see someone else's opinion over here. So this is a woman named Rocky. I think her name is Chantal, right? And she is very involved with these Jeremy McKenzie's group, right? As she was.
The Jazzalon.
Right. She sent me multiple emails. Okay, I got those emails. I'm not going to open them up right now, but she was sending me multiple emails over the last 2 years or a year and a half or something like that. Trying to help. She wanted me to help, Jeremy McKenzie when he was actually being held in jail and the rest. And she was doing a lot of charity work to try to, bring donations in or whatever it was, doing that kind of. That's their thing, right? I'm not really interested past that. Hey, everyone do their thing. That was our opinion on it. And we were friendly to these guys, try to support them as well, because we felt that these are patriots being targeted. As I began to learn, I felt this guy actually, he admitted to collaborating with the RCMP, as well as getting a guy named Prake jailed in BC for having weapons while saying illegal phrases. I don't believe that there's illegal phrases. They're just words.
I think they investigated Landon Preek for that, and then they got him on an improper storage of guns charge, whatever the heck that is. I don't know if we even have that here in the States.
4 charges.
Was there 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the thing is that he admitted to doing this to this Lynx group over there, which was a guy, right, who was basically saying, "Hey, this what we're living in 2021 is a disaster, and I want to form a militia. I want to have my own protection people." And who the hell wasn't there at that time? Like, what are you talking about?
Right. The guy was talking about like protecting his neighborhood and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Rickardy in the chat says word crimes, and that's what it was. The rat fed McKenzie ratted this dude out for saying illegal words.
Now, he did that, and he admitted this. I'm not going to run through the video. If you want, you can check it out, but we're not doing that today. But the thing is that he said that he was being investigated. So because he was being investigated, he wanted the RCMP to investigate a real criminal. To me, that's just being a rat, right? You don't sell out someone else when you're being investigated. If you're going down, you go down like a man. That's how it is. Okay, now I know it's easy.
Shit.
Yeah, it's easy to say, and it's easy to live that kind of life and whatever else. But you know what? You get tested when real shit happens to you. That's what it is. Pan was in a real criminal case. And you know what, Pan? You never said a fucking word. And
no, they tried to give me this plea deal where they wanted me to give up all my social media contacts, everything about war campaign, everybody. And I just told them to go fuck themselves.
That court case dragged on for 2 years. It could have gone really sideways. It didn't. In the end, hail the gods. Thank you so much. Praise be Providence. Pan got exonerated, and his charges got reduced to a littering charge, believe it or not.
It was what they call an amended charge, and it was a littering fine.
Okay. So anyhow, this woman over here, Rocky Chantal, doesn't have a big platform or anything, but she was putting this out, and I feel like we got to at least air another side to things, even if we're not participating, because a lot of times people will use the fact that they don't So let's say, right, we got a ability to put out information, and because we got a YouTube channel, so we'll put out that information. But let's say what we're doing is wrong. Let's say it's incorrect, or let's say we're demeaning somebody or saying something about somebody that's not true, and that person doesn't have that internet presence. They get drowned out. That's simply how it works, just like how the media will repeat stuff. So there's a responsibility there as well, and we want to be as unbiased as we can be. Obviously, nobody is, especially given that what we know about informing to the RCMP, that right there, we want to have nothing to do with anybody who does that. But let's watch this video and let's see what's going on over here. So we got Rocky, and she says, if you'd be so kind, Pan. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, I was on mute.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
I was reading it to myself. Okay, Rocky says, imagine trying to be seen as a hero swooping and completely dividing a massive group of people who actually care and support the Coots 4, only to show you are a goblin in text. But it didn't work. Everyone sees you. Another failed attempt to hurt people.
Well, let's take a look at the video here. I don't know if this will play in here. TikTok's
some text going back and forth. So the first text here I will read out. Me at the top in blue. I say incompetence maybe. It's not greedy theft by this woman. Telling us we didn't do shit okay. Can we have our 50K back? I don't know if he gave 50K. Here's his next line. I'm going to back this truck over the rest of them to save Lysak. I'm out of patience, and they can suck my dick.
Okay, so apparently he's aligning with Lysak, Chris Lysak, over the other three. Is that what's happening, Pan?
Yeah. I don't know why, but that seems to be what's happening here. Very strange, you know.
I said, I didn't know she said that about you. Was it before or after you accused her of theft? He said it's not just her, there's a whole crew of them, and that they never shut the fuck up. I said, well, don't take it out on the boys. They're 100% on their own. I want nothing to do with them. I'm going to try to help Lysak. The rest can eat me. Granny doesn't go to her own fundraisers or show up in court, but does go to trips to Scotland, while these guys don't even have a competent lawyer. Competent lawyers. They're being completely fucked over by incompetent women at best, if they aren't flat out stealing, which seems to be the case, with tens of thousands of dollars. I answered, haha, she's legit. She's been fighting every day for these guys. Her trip is from her pocket. She's retired. The man's in prison. He can't do anything. These clowns, this is Jeremy again, these clowns are supposed to be taking care of this. That was the whole point. Nobody got the blueprint, I says, on how to fight tyranny, and not many have your smarts. All of our people are going to just focus on him from now on. The rest are on their own with their cackling coven of spinster drunks. Step 1, get a good lawyer. 19 months.
So I know I'm offline. Why am I offline? I know we literally heard this, but this is new.
Good morning.
Before, but
Good morning.
I think
I'm Richard. I'm co-director of Alternative.
Here were some sensational headlines from 2015. Were Aborigines the first Americans? Native tribes in the Amazon found to be more closely related to indigenous Australians. And it speaks of a genetic study that reveals Amazonian tribes. 3 of them share more DNA with Australian Aborigines than any other present-day population. And the study suggests that Aboriginal ancestors may have colonized South America. It challenges theories of how Native Americans first arrived in the Americas. Well, of course, this is the Daily Mail, so, you know, we can expect sensational headlines. However, in this case, they're spot on, and the sensational headlines reveal even more sensational scientific research behind it. And this is this is a little extract from the scientific research. There's been this long-held view that there was a single origin for all Native American peoples, and that nevertheless that view has been challenged by some. But advances in DNA technology are making these kind of explorations much more possible. And what's been discovered is this very puzzling connection between the peoples of Australasia, particularly Papua New Guinea, and certain tribes deep in the Amazon rainforest. Now, this is a real mystery, because the view, I'll come to that, what makes it even more of a mystery is further research in 2018 on members of these tribes and looking for ancient skeletal remains. They found ancient skeletal remains 10,400 years old in the Amazon, which bear that same signal. And this tells us that this Aboriginal connection reached South America very, very long ago, and researchers are agreed that it must have reached South America in the late Pleistocene, which is near the end of the last ice age. It's a very important study because it establishes that there's no recent connection here. This is a very ancient connection in South America. And it really creates a problem because the view of archaeology for decades, really a century, has been that all the peopling of the Americas happened this way, that they crossed the Bering Straits, which were a land bridge during the Ice Age. Sea level was lower then, and that they traveled through North America and eventually down into South America. The problem is that this genetic signal isn't found anywhere in North America. It's only found in South America and in Papua New Guinea and neighboring areas. And I talked to Eski Willislev, who's one of the world's leading geneticists, whose recent work focuses on the peopling of the Americas. And I'll just read a bit of this email exchange. Willislev told me that currently no one has a good explanation of the Austro-Melanesian signal. All that's put forward as possible explanations are purely speculative. What we do know is that it's present in some Native American groups, particularly from Brazil. We also know it has to be pre-Columbian. Amongst the possible explanations for the presence of this Australo-Melanesian DNA in the Amazon, Professor Willislav offered in his email exchange with me the following. Someone holding this signal comes into the Americas not through Beringia, but crossing into South America across the ocean. Based purely on the genetic data, this is the most parsimonious explanation but it does not make practical sense. So I asked Eske why it doesn't make practical sense. Is he basing that on the archaeological consensus that our upper Paleolithic and early Holocene ancestors were incapable of undertaking long transoceanic voyages? And his reply, in regard to crossing the Pacific, I'm not saying it did not happen, but there is no evidence suggesting that humans were capable of such a journey until quite late in history, the Polynesian expansion. It's a possibility, and I'm open to the idea, but there's not much evidence supporting it except going for the most parsimonious solution of the genetic data. Well, let me say right at the outset that in science, parsimony is looked for. It's best to look for the easiest and most direct and most simple explanation of something rather than elaborating huge other explanations. And this mysterious genetic signal in South America is best explained because none of it's in North America, by a crossing of the Pacific during the Ice Age, which supposedly our ancestors were incapable of doing. So we're in the habit of dividing the world into the New World and the Old World. And it's generally held, it's generally been the view that all civilization began in the Old World. And this book, History Begins at Sumer, by Professor Samuel Noah Kramer, is a hugely influential text. And basically what he's saying is that Sumer, ancient Sumer in Mesopotamia, was the first human civilization, the first organization of human beings that deserved to be called a civilization. And it's still influential, even though it was first published in 1956. And indeed, this part of the Old World is a center of civilization. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's the Sumerian Empire. And up there we have the incredible site of Göbekli Tepe between the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They call this area Mesopotamia because it means between the rivers. Can't help feeling that there's some connection between what happened in Sumer and what happened much earlier in Göbekli Tepe. But the new evidence from the Americas threatens to overturn this paradigm that places the origins of civilization in the Middle East. The world was so different during the last ice age. There were ice caps 3 kilometers deep. Sea level was 400 feet lower than it is today. And there were freezing temperatures. But then, really rather abruptly, around 11,600 years ago, the ice age came to an end. And the whole face of the world changed. Everything became different, and we start to look at the world as we see it today. So there is the conventional notion. There's the Bering Straits now, and there's how they were during the Ice Age. And it did seem obvious to archaeologists that this must have been the main route for getting into the Americas. And indeed, for a long time, they held it was the only route for getting into the Americas. And there was a theory that there had been an ice-free corridor between the Cordillera and the Laurentide ice sheets. That theory, by the way, has been recently completely blown out of the water. Nobody could have used that ice-free corridor because it didn't exist. Here's the general picture of these migrations and through that supposed ice-free corridor and down into North America about 12,000 years ago, and then eventually onwards into South America. It's these genetic discoveries of this close relationship between Australasians and certain peoples in the Amazon rainforest that are challenging the long-held view of the peopling of the Americas. The long-held view became a dogma, and that dogma was called Clovis first. These were supposed to be the Clovis culture, were supposed to be the first inhabitants of North America. And they're not supposed to have come into North America until around 13,400 years ago. And mysteriously, 12,800 years ago, they vanish entirely from the stage. They're recognized by these fantastic fluted points that they made. So they were held to be the first culture of the Americas, and for decades, archaeologists were adamant that no human beings had entered the Americas before 13,400 years ago. But things are beginning to change. This is a report from 2013. Not so long ago, there was a seemingly incontrovertible answer to the question of how and when the first settlers made it to the Americas. Some 13,000 years ago, a group of people from Asia walked across a land bridge that connected Siberia to Alaska and headed south. And these people were known to us as the Clovis. By the way, why do we call them the Clovis culture? They didn't call themselves that. We have no idea what they called themselves that. I'll tell you why. Because there's a site called Blackwater Draw down in New Mexico. And in that site were found many of those Clovis points by archaeologists. But the problem was there was no beer available right there at the site. But where there was beer available was in the town of Clovis, New Mexico, about 10 miles away. So they called it the Clovis culture. Yeah. For decades, this was the received wisdom. So compelling was the Clovis first model that few archaeologists even contemplated an alternative. Some, with the temerity to do so, complained of a Clovis police intent on suppressing dissent. And believe me, the Clovis police was a real thing. It wrecked the lives of quite a number of archaeologists who took a dissenting view and held that it was absurd to suggest that the Americas had only been populated 13,000 years ago. Of course, they'd been populated earlier. And Jacques Cinq-Mars, who conducted excavations at Bluefish Caves in the Yukon, found evidence of the presence of humans in the Americas more than 20,000 years ago. That was heresy to the Clovis police. They descended upon him. They recruited their friends in the media to attack him, to present him as a pseudoscientist, to say that he was telling lies, to say that he was fraudulently presenting evidence. They did everything possible to ruin his career. And as the Smithsonian later admitted, rather than launching a major new search for more early evidence, the finds stirred fierce opposition and a bitter debate, one of the most acrimonious and unfruitful in all of science, as Nature later put it. And poor Jacques Cinq-Mars, he was ruined by the Clovis police. His research funding was withdrawn. He was passed by in corridors by colleagues who would no longer speak to him. He was treated as a pariah. He, in every way, was insulted and humiliated. But he was right. Because Bluefish Caves were re-excavated. And we now know that people were butchering horses and other animals in Bluefish Caves 24,000 years ago. Jacques Cinq-Mars was totally correct, and this more recent research completely vindicates him, but too late to save him from the destruction of his career that fellow archaeologists inflicted upon him. As the Smithsonian admitted in 2017, the study does raise serious questions about the effect of the bitter, decades-long debate over the peopling of the New World. Did archaeologists in the mainstream marginalize dissenting voices on this key issue? And if so, what was the impact on North American archaeology? Did the intense criticism of pre-Clovis sites produce a chilling effect, stifling new ideas and hobbling the search for early sites? The scientific atmosphere, records Tom Dillehay, was clearly toxic and clearly impeded science. So that's March the 8th, 2017. Now, these days, if you talk to archaeologists about Clovis not being first anymore, they'll say, oh, we knew that all along. We've been saying that since the 1990s. Rubbish. A few archaeologists have been saying it, but the majority were ganging up on them with the forces of the Clovis police. So we're told here in 2007 that Clovis was debunked by National Geographic. The Clovis people, known for their distinctive pierheads, were not the first humans to set foot in the Americas after all. That's 2007. 2012, once again, Clovis is debunked. The Clovis theory is put to rest at Paisley Caves. And then Wikipedia, admitting now recently, by the way, I regard Wikipedia as a profound source of disinformation. I know from looking at Wikipedia entries from a subject that I know about that they're not telling the whole truth. They're presenting an agenda. And I suggest that's probably true for everything that's on Wikipedia. It's the first stop that we all go to get information, but it's not a reliable source. It's a source of disinformation. It's useful, but check everything they say very, very, very carefully. So Clovis, the need to debunk Clovis keeps on happening again and again. It comes back like a sort of zombie, and it has to be killed again. It just won't go away. So here's a 2022 report in the big thing, Clovis debunked. Hey, archaeologists now saying they debunked it in the 90s and in the 2000s, and now in 2022 they're still needing to say it's been debunked. This is an ongoing debate, and we have not got rid of that zombie yet. There are still people clinging to the Clovis first idea. But here's Al Goodyear. Al Goodyear has excavated a site called Topper, which puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. He was subjected to the same kind of attacks that Jacques St. Mars was subjected to. There I am talking with Al Goodyear, and he took me to the site, and he explained that initially they went there to investigate what they thought was entirely a Clovis site. But then they did something that other archaeologists had never done, because archaeologists were told there's no point in looking deeper than Clovis. You know, with these layers in the soil, the younger material is at the top and the older material is at the bottom. They said there's no point in looking deeper because we know that Clovis was first. But Al Goodyear dissented, and he dug deeper. And digging deeper below the Clovis layer, he found compelling evidence that humans had been present more than 50,000 years ago. It's now beginning to be reluctantly accepted by the archaeological community, but Al went through decades of hate and unpleasantness because he stood out from the crowd. The Ceruti Mastodon site is another extraordinary site. My God, I mean, those Clovis police are saying humans were only in America for 13,000 years ago. Here's a site that shows humans were in America 130,000 years ago, 10 times as long. This is the work of paleontologist Tom Demaray and a number of his colleagues at the San Diego Natural History Museum. And they found a mastodon, the remains of a mastodon, which had clearly been butchered and the marrow extracted by human beings. Exactly what kind of human beings they were 130,000 years ago, we can't say for sure. Because 130,000 years ago, there were Neanderthals, there were Denisovans, there were also anatomically modern humans. But the handiwork of humans is clearly evident in this site. And Tom Demaray took me backstage in the San Diego Natural History Museum, and he showed me that evidence, and it's utterly compelling. But of course, he was immediately attacked. They don't call them the Clovis police anymore, but there was just a general attack on what was regarded as the fantastical notion that human beings could have been in the Americas 130,000 years ago. And Tom Demaray and his team have replied to that attack very thoroughly, refuting it. But the friends of the dead hand of archaeology in the media keep on reporting that it's been debunked. It has not been debunked. Any attempt to debunk it has in fact been debunked by Tom Demaray and his colleagues. Here's Paulette Steeves. She's a Native American archaeologist, and she is very unhappy with the way that American archaeology is evolving. And she talks about how ignorance is produced through neglect, secrecy, suppression, destruction of documents, unquestioned tradition, and socio-political selectivity. Educational materials were framed in such a way to support colonization of the mind, teaching people to think in ways acceptable to the nation state and not to question so-called scientific authorities. So look, this is why my kids made for me a t-shirt with the words, I'm not wearing it today, but stuff just keeps on getting older. Because you know, if you have a relatively short time frame to deal with, then searching for a lost civilization becomes much more complex and much more difficult. But if you have a very long time frame to deal with, there's much more material to investigate. And if the Americas have been inhabited by humans for 130,000 years, which is more than twice as long as Europe, then our understanding of prehistory must change. We have a vast resource-rich landmass here, and it may have been the location of hitherto unrecognized advances and developments in the story of civilization. But if this were so, why have archaeologists thus far failed to recognize these developments and advances? Well, here's a bit of the open letter that the Society for American Archaeology published and sent to Netflix, complaining about my Ancient Apocalypse series, saying really vile things about it, and demanding that Netflix reclassify it as science fiction, because it doesn't represent the orthodox archaeological point of view. And I'll just read their justification. After more than a century of professional archaeological investigations, we find no archaeological evidence to support the existence of an advanced global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests. Archaeologists have investigated hundreds of Ice Age sites and published the results in rigorously reviewed journals. The assertion that Ancient Apocalypse is a factual docuseries or documentary rather than entertainment with ideological goals is preposterous. If there were any credible evidence for a global Ice Age civilization of the kind Hancock suggests, archaeologists would investigate it and report their findings with rigor according to the scientific methods, practices, and theories of our discipline. If the evidence warranted scientific peer review, we would acquire funding to test it, publish our results, and promote it in our own outreach materials. Contrary to Hancock's claims, archaeology does not willfully ignore credible evidence, nor does it seek to suppress it in a conspiratorial fashion. I actually don't think that any conspiracy is going on here. I think people get locked into a particular mindset. Their careers depend on it. The approval of their colleagues depend on it. The funding for their research depends on it. They get invested in that mindset and they find it very difficult to see outside it. Part of the problem is that very ancient structures, thousands of years older than archaeologists suppose, may be hiding in plain view, surrounded by other younger structures. And the best example of that really is the Great Sphinx of Giza. And these two temples in front of it. This temple is a New Kingdom temple, much later even than the accepted date of the Sphinx, which is about 4,500 years ago. But the Sphinx and these two temples are deeply anomalous. And the erosion patterns in the trench around the Sphinx, and which were originally on the body of the Sphinx before it was restored, speak eloquently of what is called precipitation-induced weathering. And this was first noticed by the late, great John Anthony West, a dear friend of mine, who passed away in 2018. And John West brought Professor Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, to the site. And Schoch said, it's obvious. This site has been subjected to at least 1,000 years of heavy rainfall. When did that happen? Well, it happened between roughly 12,800 and 11,600 years ago. That's the last time that there were rains capable of causing this level of erosion in the Egyptian desert. See those deep vertical fissures running down there? That's the rainwater pouring off the side of the escarpment and selectively hollowing out the weaker areas of rock. For most of the 20th century, it was the consensus of archaeologists that megalithic architecture was beyond the capacities of hunter-gatherers and required the presence of long-term settled agricultural communities to evolve. And it seemed to reinforce this view that no megalithic architecture had been found anywhere in the world that was more than 6,000 years old. In fact, that was one of the main arguments that the archaeological police used to try to dismiss John West and Robert Schoch. They said, show us another culture that's 12,000 years old anywhere in the world, and we might listen to you. But we know that there is no culture capable of creating anything like the Sphinx until 4,500 years ago. Therefore, of course, the Sphinx is 4,500 years ago. But, of course, that changed completely with Göbekli Tepe, which is a deliberately buried site, deliberately buried 11,600 years ago, a very, very ancient site. Sorry, it began 11,600 years ago. It was deliberately buried about 1,000 years later, and thus sealed, and thus an intact archaeological scene. And the evidence from Göbekli Tepe is that this site is 11,600 years old. It dates to the end of a period called the Younger Dryas, which I'll talk a bit more about. And my goodness, if you're capable of creating these 20-ton megalithic pillars and this huge site, then you're certainly capable of creating the Great Sphinx. So the notion that the Sphinx is somehow out of context has to completely change now that we have Göbekli Tepe. I'm here with the late Professor Klaus Schmidt, who, unlike most archaeologists, did not sort of make the sign of the cross and run away as soon as I appeared on the site, but actually gave me 3 days of his time and talked me through the site in great depth. Tragically, he passed away in 2014, and he's been succeeded by a very closed-minded group of archaeologists. What he's telling me, why he's pointing at the ground, is that there's hundreds of pillars as yet unexcavated, still deeply buried under the ground, huge enclosures under the ground that they haven't excavated yet. The story of Göbekli Tepe is just beginning. And neighboring Karahan Tepe, back in 2014, when Santa and I first went there, all you could see at Karahan Tepe was a few interesting looking bits of stone sticking out of the ground. But now Karahan Tepe has been excavated. And this is how it looks today. An extraordinary megalithic site of the same age as Göbekli Tepe, around about 11,000, 11,600 years ago. Here we have pillars carved directly out of the bedrock, and then one freestanding pillar included there, and then this curious face sticking out of the wall, which I must say gave me the chills the first time I saw it. I don't know what it's about. It's got a sort of snake-like feeling and with a human head on the end of a snake's body. So there is reason to conclude that the Sphinx does not stand alone, that there are now recognized archaeological sites which involved huge amounts of workmanship that are as old as the Sphinx. And I wonder if some other sites have been misinterpreted, if sites are multi-layered, that many different cultures have been involved in them, and archaeology is perhaps making the mistake of just dating them to the most recent culture that was present. This is Baalbek in the Lebanon, and undoubtedly a Roman temple here. Temple of Jupiter that I'm sitting in, and behind it the Temple of Bacchus, dedicated to wine. Those Romans knew how to have fun. A Roman site for sure, but what about this bizarre enclosure wall that surrounds it, which is totally separate from the Temple of Jupiter? What's this about? This is called the trilithon. Each of these 3 blocks weighs 900 tons. 900 tons. And it's extraordinary the way they're built into a wall and raised 30 feet above the ground like this, a wall the provenance for which has not been established by archaeology. Just another look, and I'm in the picture for scale at the trilithon. So nearby is the quarry. And the quarry contains a number of very large blocks that were never transported from the quarry site. Now, the one I'm standing on weighs 1,000 tons, 100 tons more than the ones in that wall. And that one over there, on the other side of the road, unfortunately used now as a rubbish tip, weighs 1,200 tons. And the one here that I'm standing on here, which is only recently excavated, turns out to weigh 1,400 tons. Why only recently excavated? Because the whole site was covered in sedimentation. What archaeologists say, and it still amuses me, of course the Romans did everything. They found they could move 900-ton blocks, but 1,000 tons was too much for them. So they couldn't move them. So they just left them in the quarry. In my view, that's a very un-Roman thing to do. The Romans were very practical people. Okay, let's say they couldn't move 1,000 tons, but having gone to all the work of creating huge megaliths like this, they wouldn't have wasted them. They'd have sliced them up like loaves of bread and used the already shaped blocks in other constructions. The fact that they didn't do that these are still there, suggests to me the whole site was covered during Roman times, and it's only in more recent times that it's been excavated and revealed. And then let's go to Sacsayhuaman in the Sacred Valley near the town of Cuzco in Peru, in the high Andes. Incredible megaliths there, which archaeology gives entirely to the Incas, even though the Incas themselves recognized and honored the work of predecessors. Archaeology gives this work entirely to the Incas. I mean, that's me, for scale, standing beside that block. And look at these weird sort of holes in the block, and the way the blocks are almost melted together in a very strange manner. It's very different from what is definitely Inca architecture. I'll just show a few more shots. These sort of scallops in the side of the block, these holes, it almost looks like the stone was soft and that people were pressing something into it. it raises the question, was there a way of manipulating and even melting stone, putting it in place? The work is very fine. I mean, you can't get a razor blade between the joints in the blocks. It's just incredibly fine megalithic work. And I was privileged to spend, I've had several visits to the Andes with Jesus Gamarra, who himself is a descendant of the Incas, and who is a local researcher following in the footsteps of his father, who also was intensely interested in the megaliths. And he and his father are both confident, absolutely confident, that the Incas simply were latecomers, and that they rebuilt, they built on top of, they modified, they honored by overbuilding the much older structures that are the megalithic structures. And here we are at Pisac, and Jesus is showing me different aspects of the site, and at Sacsayhuaman, and explaining his view that actually there's evidence for 3 cultures there, the Incas being the last, and that there were 2 earlier cultures. And he believes that the megalithic work is entirely the work of these earlier cultures and has been wrongly handed to his ancestors, the Incas. And weirdly, up there near Cuzco, we have this curious stonework, and we also have it at Alacahoyuk in Turkey. Exactly the same kind of thing. Is this a coincidence, or is there something going on behind the scenes of history that we've not been fully informed about yet? And oddly, these patterns, these T-shaped pillars that we see at Göbekli Tepe are repeated at the temple of Edfu in Upper Egypt and also in Peru. Let's go to Tiwanaku, even higher in the Andes. We're now 14,000 feet above sea level. And this 300-ton block, God knows how anybody got it up there at 14,000 feet above sea. I can even breathe at 14,000 feet above sea level. It takes me days to get acclimatized. This massive megalithic site in Tiwanaku. And some curiosities. There's these H-shaped blocks. We recognize them as an H because H is a letter in our alphabet. That's of course not what they meant to the ancients, but it's the shape I want to draw attention to, because that same shape appears at Göbekli Tepe. It appears on the belts of some of the figures. Now, I'm not saying that people from Göbekli Tepe brought that idea to the Americas. I suspect it more likely the other way around, actually. But what I'm saying is that there appears to be an iconographic connection between the 2 sites, which is not explained by current theories of archaeology. Tiwanaku is a very controversial site, and archaeologists would like it not to be much more than 2,000 years old. But there's curious astronomical alignments at Tiwanaku, which make it clear that the site was aligned to the summer solstice in 10,500 BC, 12,500 years ago. And this is because the rising point of the sun on the solstice changes as a result of shifts in the obliquity of the Earth's axis over a 41,000-year cycle. Tiwanaku makes much more sense as 12,500 years old from an astronomical point of view than it does as 2,000 years old. Some other figures here. The ones on the right, starting here, are all from Tiwanaku. But over here we have the god Osiris from Egypt, a bearded figure, remembered by the ancient Egyptians as a bringer of the gifts of civilization, not only in Egypt, but in many other lands as well. And down here we have the earliest surviving representation of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, in Mexico, from the Olmec culture. And again, Quetzalcoatl is remembered in traditions from Central America as a bringer of civilization and as a teacher of civilization. So let's move over now to Tiwanaku. There's this pillar in the so-called semi-subterranean chamber. And on the front of the pillar is this face, which is the face of a deity venerated in the Andes for millennia. And the name of that deity is Viracocha. Notice the heavy beard on the figure here and here. There's a serpent on the side of the pillar. And up here, you can't see it clearly, is a curious animal. We've highlighted it here, this curious creature. And what it looks like is an extinct example of South American megafauna. It looks a lot like Toxodon, which went extinct at the end of the Ice Age. What's it doing on this pillar if the site is only 2,000 years old? Then there's another problem. Okay, I suggest strongly that evidence from much earlier megalithic construction is hiding in plain view and has been misdated by archaeology. But there's a far greater problem that's posed by the huge areas of the Earth where only minimal archaeological investigations have ever been carried out. Well, the Sahara Desert, for example. Yes, there's been some archaeology in the Sahara Desert, but not very much. I get it. It's a very expensive place to work. It's a very tough place to work. And besides, archaeology has the view that there's not much to find there. There has been some archaeology done, but very, very little, minimal. That's 9.2 million square kilometers of the Earth's surface that hasn't yet really been studied by archaeology at all. It's around about the size of the Republic of China. It's like talking about the world and excluding China completely from the story. We can't say we've got the past completely nailed down when we haven't thoroughly investigated the Sahara Desert. Because the Sahara Desert was green during the Ice Age. It wasn't how it looks today. It was a fertile area for many periods during the Ice Age. And oddly enough, there are ancient maps copied from even older source maps which show river channels in the Sahara and lakes. And weirdly, recent surveys have demonstrated that there was a river channel exactly where indicated on that mysterious ancient map. Here's Antarctica as it looks today. Well, this map was drawn in 1813. It's the Pinkerton World Map. And it's based on the latest science available in 1813. It's a really good map where it comes to South America and South Africa and Australia. But as you will observe, something's missing from the picture. Antarctica isn't there. Why isn't Antarctica there? Because it's an honest map. They hadn't discovered it in 1813. They didn't discover it until 1820. So it's very odd, in my view, that Antarctica appears on much older source maps, which themselves are based on even older source maps. It's interesting, this little legend down here, I've had it translated. Behold clearly to you, O reader, Orontius Phineus Delphinates offers with elegant appearance a geography not so far seen and accurately engraved, which in fact preserves the shape and form of the human heart. And take care that it should be at heart for you. And also presents to your eye provinces, islands, seas, rivers, mountains, not so far seen nor known, to some of the great map papers of antiquity, Ptolemy, Eudoxius, Eratosthenes, Macrobius. And we're told that these areas lay in darkness until this map was drawn. I suggest they lay in darkness because they were on the much older source maps that Orontius Phineus and other map makers drew upon, source maps that came out into public circulation from about the 1400s, 1300s onwards, probably taken from Constantinople. And then what about the area of the world that was covered by rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age? This is another area where very little archaeology has been done. We are talking about 27 million square kilometers. That's roughly equivalent in size to China, the US, and Europe, all added together, that were above water during the Ice Age and that were submerged at the end of the Ice Age. Again, I'll come to those ancient maps. On the left, we have Southeast Asia in 1507, and as it looks today. And on the right, we have an inundation map showing Southeast Asia and Australia as they looked 21,300 years ago when sea level was 400 feet lower than they are today. As you can see, what today is an archipelago of islands and the Malaysian peninsula was a huge subcontinent-sized landmass. New Guinea was joined to Australia at that time. And it's interesting that this other mysterious map, again drawn from older source maps, seems to depict the Sunda Shelf as it looked during the last Ice Age. So this map is showing present land masses and the sunken land masses that were submerged at the end of the Ice Age. The Sunda Shelf is particularly interesting. We now know that it was highly fertile, highly attractive land during the Ice Age. So you didn't really want to spend a lot of time in the far northern hemisphere during the Ice Age. You wanted to get down near the equator. That was the best, warmest land on Earth. And this would have been a fantastic place for people to settle and for civilizations to evolve. And that's why I'm so interested, and we depicted it in Ancient Apocalypse, this work by geologist Danny Hillman Natwajaja at Gunung Padang on the island of Java. And I'm suggesting, and Danny believes, that this site is originated more than 20,000 years ago. It may have been added to by later cultures. It's still venerated today, but it's a very, very old site in his view. It was one of those high areas that was above water, that remained above water even after sea level rose at the end of the Ice Age. It's on the island of Java, but that island of Java was connected to Sumatra and Borneo and the Malaysian Peninsula when the Sunda Shelf was above water. So, Sahara Desert, 9 million square kilometers, 27 million square kilometers submerged at the end of the Ice Age, the best real estate on Earth. Is marine archaeology being done? Yes, it is. Marine archaeology is being done. It does exist. It's very expensive, and not a lot of it is done. But when I saw this headline, I thought, I've got somebody on my side. Archaeologist explains why we need to look underwater to understand the past. But then the explanation is so disappointing, because what he's looking for is shipwrecks from the 16 and 1700s. And that's primarily what all marine archaeology is about. It's changing now. It's changing slowly. We know about Doggerland as a result, and archaeologists are beginning to look at it. But my point is that the vast area that was submerged during the end of the Ice Age has never been studied by archaeology at all. And they're not in a position to say that they know that there's no possibility of a lost civilization during the Ice Age, while they haven't investigated those 27 million square kilometers that are now underwater, when they haven't investigated the Sahara Desert. Well, Santa and I decided to do some investigation of our own underwater. And actually, we spent the best part of 10 years scuba diving all over the world, following up tales and traditions from local divers and fishermen, looking for structures underwater. And here at Ponape, the well-known site of Nan Madol, we followed up the advice of local divers, and we went underwater. And we find that the site doesn't just stop there. It continues underwater, and at first it continues with the same kind of construction that you see above water. But as you go deeper, as you get down to about 27 meters underwater, you start seeing structures that are completely different, these huge pillars underwater. A fallen pillar here, which is very interesting because it so closely resembles the pillars of Tinian in nearby area of the Pacific. Micronesia, and this is Tinian, and I'm suggesting again that that pillar underwater suggests to us that Tinian megaliths may be much older than we're told. That's my fins disappearing through a tunnel underwater in Japan. Santa and I did more than 200 dives around this site. It's called Yonaguni. And I'm going to show you why I believe archaeologists are wrong. Archaeologists who've never dived there, who wouldn't even contemplate diving there. Diving at Yonaguni is really dangerous. There's a massive current there. You get swept away. If you try and stop and examine the structure, you end up fighting the sea. And believe me, you don't want to fight the sea. When the sea sends a current your way, the best thing you can do is just go with it, adrift, and that's great fun. But you try to hang on to a structure, and the sea's going to beat you up badly. Well, that's the edges of that tunnel. And as you can see, it's a megalithic tunnel with one block piled on top of the other. And then at the end of the tunnel, we see this. 2 blocks positioned side by side. And that's me just diving down beside those blocks to show their nature and their scale. They're enormous. And archaeologists say, oh, no problem. They must have fallen from some cliff overhead. The only problem is there is no cliff overhead, and never has been. So those two blocks, this is them in context. There they are. That tunnel that I went through is down here. There's the two blocks, and then there's this massive, completely natural stone outcropping. I'm not disputing that it's natural, but as we continue to explore that outcropping, what do we find? We find a flat terrace, and we find steps on the terrace. And in my mind, this speaks strongly of human workmanship. Japan is a megalithic culture. Many of the megaliths in Japan have never really been properly studied. This one is called Masado no Iwafuna, the upside-down boat stone in the Asuka area of Japan. It's interesting that if you go around to the other side of that huge megalith, you'll see how it was created. They cut out these grooves in it, creating these outcroppings, which if they'd finished the work would have been smoothed off and left to look like the rest of the structure. Oddly enough, exactly the same stone cutting technique is found underwater at Yonaguni, and since it's nearly 30 meters underwater, it's been underwater for more than 12,000 years. Above water in Japan, you do have megalithic stone circles. The one at the top left is from Hokkaido. Aomori on the right, very small river stones used to create a circle. And then Shikoku down at the bottom left. Well, we heard of a site in the Kerama Islands, in the southern part of Japan, where there was a stone circle underwater. Well, we couldn't resist that. So we went diving there. And lo and behold, what did we find? A massive stone circle. And indeed, circles made of small river stones as well, but 30 meters underwater, 12,000 years old plus. What is going on here? Well, that's me with a video camera up there and a diver down there beside the central upright for scale. These megaliths, like the pillars at Karahan Tepe, are carved out of bedrock. They're carved out of bedrock. And it's really difficult for me to see how nature could have done this. I mean, there I am on top of the central upright. Look at the way the outer curve of the central upright matches the inner curve of one of the outer uprights. Here we are now in Taiwan. From that island of Yonaguni, Taiwan is actually visible on a clear day. Here we're underwater with local diver Steve Shea at Taiwan, and he's showing us a wall he discovered underwater, about 20 meters underwater. And that wall has battlements, and it has a kind of plaza in front of it. And unless there's any doubt that it's man-made, let's get up close and look at it. It's made of individual blocks of stone. This doesn't happen naturally. This is a man-made structure underwater, which archaeology has paid absolutely zero attention to. And then what about India? Diving in Indian waters is often quite murky. There's a lot of sediment in the water. It makes it very difficult to see. But here's South India as it looked during the Ice Age, when sea level was much lower. Sri Lanka was joined to South India. And I'm interested in two sites in particular in South India, Pumpahar and Mahabalipuram. Pumpahar we heard about from the National Oceanographic Institute of India. We're based in Goa. And they kindly actually took us diving at Pumpahar and showed us what they are confident is a man-made structure. They describe it as a U-shaped structure at 29 meters underwater. And I apologize for the visibility, but that's what you dive in there. Fishermen get their nets caught on it. It causes trouble to fishermen all the time. In fact, they would like it removed. And there are individual blocks surrounding it. Further north at Mahabalipuram, was Santha and I who investigated this area first. Santha speaks the Tamil language as her first language. And so we were able to communicate easily and fluently with local fishermen. And we asked them at Mahabalipuram, is there anything underwater that you guys know about? And they said, yeah, there's a whole city out there. And we're really annoyed about it because we keep catching our nets on it and we have to send down divers, and they're not scuba divers, free divers, and sometimes they get killed. And we've asked the government to do something about it, but they don't believe us. Well, we believe them. It took about 2 years to organize the expedition, and we had to involve the Scientific Exploration Society led by John Blashford Snell in Britain. As you can see, it was a very high-tech expedition. And off we went, diving off the waters of Mahabalipuram, and immediately we saw the fishermen were right, that there are man-made structures underwater, 2 blocks side by side here, a bit of a wall sticking above the sand, a wall with a standout feature. There I'm putting my dive knife into the gap between two blocks. Another pair of blocks there, and a curved feature. There's so much more underwater at Mahabalipuram. Yeah. Well, following that investigation, it was decided that some archaeology would be done. But to my frustration, the archaeology so far has been confined to the intertidal zone, just down to 5 meters.
What's up, guys? Today's video is on the top 5 best underwater drones in 2023. Through extensive research and testing, I've put together a list of options that'll meet the needs of different types of buyers. So whether it's price, performance, or its particular use, we've got you covered. For more information on the products, I've included links in the description box down below, which are updated for the best prices. Like the video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get started. If you're a beginner, we've specially selected for you the Chasing Innovation Dory, also known as the best beginner underwater drone available on the market in 2023. Chasing Innovation is back in force with the Dory underwater drone. This device will be your best companion during your outings in the water, as it easily slips into your bag thanks to its ultra compactness. The drone is equipped with a low-light camera and is capable of recording in 1080p while moving at a depth of up to 15 meters in high quality. The device can also be connected to a smartphone through the mobile Chasing Dory app. Therefore, you have the possibility to manage it remotely and then publish your creations on social networks. In terms of performance, this Dory underwater drone has a 4800 mAh battery for an excellent autonomy of 1 hour. Additionally, keep in mind that it is particularly lightweight for easy handling. Chasing Innovation Dory is especially specialized in making videos in low light. It also offers precise movements up to a 45-degree tilt, and its management is even easier thanks to a well-thought-out design. The device also boasts a quick 2-stage launch, and we must not forget the built-in lighting either. 2 LEDs of 250 lumens each. The photo and video image quality is 1920 by 1080 at 30 FPS. It also has a 16GB SD card, which will do a pretty good job for beginners. Smaller than a standard sheet of paper, the Dory is specifically designed for the large-scale market, with a highly functional travel size, intuitive controls, and quick setup, not to mention a very affordable price. Dory is powered directly from the battery placed in the casing, and you can get a full and dynamic color in absolutely all conditions. You can use Chasing Innovation Dory whether you're sailing, diving, taking underwater photos, or fishing. Good stuff. A thumbs up from here. The next product we'll talk about on our review list for today is the PowerVision Power Dolphin, also known as the best surface underwater drone available on the market in 2023. If you want to explore the underwater playground of our largely unexplored oceans, either for leisure or as part of your professional activity, you'll need a waterproof drone. First of all, the device can be controlled and used at depths of 100 meters, but even better, it has an impressive dive time of 3 hours and a maximum speed of 2 meters per second. With this model, you can easily record and share impressive 1080p HD video with its optimized camera. We love the cool and stylish design of this drone, which is purposely created to move like a fish in water. It's a solid and sturdy drone that's easy to carry and has sleek, easy-to-use controls. With the rubber bumpers surrounding the sleek white body, it's easy to handle and use and won't slip in wet conditions. The lens itself is also protected from scratches by a hardened sapphire coating. The camera is specially optimized for sea and marine shooting with a wide-angle lens for shooting a wide field of view and is calibrated to work in low-light conditions. It also has an advanced color correction function with built-in algorithms that allow you to see the true colors of underwater landscapes. The drone is suitable for a wide range of activities and applications. The PowerVision Power Dolphin is versatile, reliable, and fun to use. A bit of a revolutionary drone. It's equipped with an anti-tip mechanism, which promotes insurance in case of stormy waters. No need to panic with this device, even in extreme and violent navigation conditions. PowerVision Power Dolphin Wizard has a 4K resolution camera and 132-degree rotation. The latter has the advantage of being a dual joint that can photograph above and below water. Unrivaled picture quality is guaranteed from the top of these 12 million pixels. Regardless of the conditions, you'll have a better picture and video quality. Highly recommended. If you don't hesitate to spend a few dollars more in order to get a top quality product, we especially single out the Gyges Fifish V6 for you as the best premium underwater drone available on the market in 2023. Gyges Fifish V6 offers you the most important features of this type of product. It has a 12 megapixel photo sensor and two 4000 lumen LED projectors. It can produce 4K videos at 30 frames per second, offering you quality footage up to 100 meters deep. Super convenient, the device responds to the finger and the eye on several control axes. It turns, moves forward, tilts, and performs figures to follow the movement of the fish. It's just perfect in the water. And that's not all, as this model comes with a VR headset, which allows you to fully immerse yourself in his exploration of the dive site, as if you were an experienced diver. The battery lasts for more than 4 hours, which gives you plenty of room to maneuver. The Gyges Fifish has a controller, so you can direct it with your phone. The package also includes a 100-meter cable and 2 chargers. Indeed, this device is both versatile and nimble. Its ergonomic design also provides optimal fit and exceptional user comfort. This drone is powerful because it can easily detect movements and promises you a real-time view, enough to enjoy an immersive experience that takes your breath away, and you can share the final rendering on social media. The V6 combination of the VR box and app puts users in the pilot seat of the drone, providing a sublime and immersive control experience. Combined with the advanced VR head tracking feature, the aircraft can not only be controlled from a first-person perspective, but users gain full 360-degree control over the aircraft's rotations by simply moving their heads. Tilt your head to the side to roll the drone, look up to tilt it up, and look right to turn it right. Using the innovative 6-vector thrusters, the V6 is capable of all possible angles and directions of movement. If you can afford this beast, we say go for it. Up next, we present to you the chasing innovation Gladius Mini, which quite rightly took home the silver medal and won the title of the runner-up best underwater drone available on the market in 2023. Gladius Mini is now equipped with 5 powerful motors that allow it to stabilize perfectly and move in all directions. To optimize the hydrodynamic profile with a high-performance liquid drainage system, the company relied on the shape of the fish gills. We can also find this gill pattern on the sides of the device. Its hull is designed to offer the least possible resistance to currents and to deliver rapid evolution as well as perfect stability. To drive 5 powerful submarine motors, 2 at the back for horizontal evolutions and 3 vertical motors in the shape of a triangle, the Mini Gladius uses a new control algorithm that guarantees the incredible stability of the underwater drone. Thanks to the new engine layout connected to the AI algorithm, the Gladius Mini maintains perfect stability on both the horizontal and vertical axis. The novelty of this mini version is the ability to tilt the ROV more or less than 45 degrees up and down. Once the optimal position is achieved, it's advisable to lock these parameters, thanks to the tilt lock mode, and then take underwater movies. This option allows you to offer multiple viewing angles to make your movies more dynamic. As for the camera, the Gladius Mini uses a 2.3-inch 12 megapixel sensor, fronted by an f3.0 lens. It has an ISO range of 100 to 3200 and can shoot raw images in JPEG and DNG formats. You can record 4K 3840 by 2160 video at 30 FPS with a bitrate of 60 megabits per second. You can also record full HD video at 30, 60, or 120 FPS. Photos and videos are stored on a 64 gigabyte micro SD card. This is a quality product, and all we can do is recommend it. Finally, we present to you the long-awaited gold medal and the title of the best overall underwater drone on the market in 2023. Meet PowerVision PowerRay. If you're looking for a drone that can be used for precision fishing and underwater reporting, this is your ideal drone. Undoubtedly one of the best waterproof and durable drones at great depths that will allow you to see underwater life in perfect detail. Pay attention to its amazing features. This unmanned underwater drone was created to satisfy sports enthusiasts, photography enthusiasts, explorers, and fishermen, among many others. High-resolution movie recording, a 4K UHD underwater camera has been developed exclusively for PowerRay. You'll be able to capture your best catch of fish and other marine life directly underwater. Also, you can inspect any corner of the sea, control gravel, engines, and jumps with ease. You'll be able to capture detailed high-resolution images and close-ups while staying dry. Also, thanks to the connected cable that comes in the box, you can hit unimaginable depths. In addition, the device has a detachable sonar for locating fish, and there is also a 4K camera that broadcasts live in HD with a maximum autonomy of 4 hours. That is, you'll have really impressive working time. The camera can be controlled remotely or connected to mobile devices so that they also display the photos or videos it sends in real time, as well as its position. The app, available for iOS and Android, allows you to control the 4K UHD camera and configure the lighting and speed options. Also, thanks to the VR goggle, an optional virtual reality device, the user will be able to enjoy a first-person experience underwater and manipulate the robot with head movements thanks to sophisticated software for motion recognition. This product delivers premium performance at the best possible price-quality ratio. You wanted the best, you got it. So that's it for the top 5 best underwater drones in 2023. Like, comment, and subscribe to receive the notifications about our latest video.
Wow, what a freaking incredible experience. Hey buddy, that was cool, right? Dude, there you go. Oh my god, that's so cool.
Thanks for being here. We're over. I'm tired. Thanks for being here. I'm really tired. The post-workout, post-lifting stream flex. Shawhead 136. What is that? What is that? Sounds like the names of the people on Kijiji that I'm replying to their ads for sale. No, I didn't. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with their names being like that. I'm just saying it's funny. Greatest road of all time. Oh really? Shy. I'm gonna Google it. Oh, no. Am I gonna regret this? Oh, you're serious, bro? Holy shit. I can never tell when you're serious or you're just fucking memeing, bro. Iranian, insane. I'm gonna get fucking... What is this? $2 center? You can go fuck yourself, Wikipedia. That's crazy, bro. I'm telling you, Toad is like an Iranian spy. I thought he was a Canadian cop. Now I think he's an Iranian cop. That would make sense. Actually would make the most sense. Oh really? That's it? That's pretty cheap. Used cars are going for more than that on fucking Gyges. Alright, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I'll post a video of this link in the chat because maybe you guys would like it. It's 2 hours long. You guys and gals would like it. Alright. We may read somebody, we may not. Stars, yeah. That says a lot, man. Anchor's top notch, especially the battery quality. Anchor is like one of the best for battery and connectivity issues and shit. And sound. Oh yes, we are definitely doing this.
This is how the run starts. We switch to the plane.